Hey, good morning, guys. My name is Francisco. I'm one of the herpetology keepers here at the Houston Zoo. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today, we are going to be talking about the Lunar New Year that is celebrated in East and Southeast Asia. So, Lunar New Year started this year on February 15th, or 10th, sorry. And it's celebrated for 15 days after the start. It kind of signifies the start of the new year. And it's always celebrated with one of the 12 zodiac animals every year. This year, 2024, is the year of the dragon. So we're celebrating with our very own dragon, Phoenix the Komodo Dragon. So he's right here. So Komodo dragons are the largest lizards in the world. They could reach up to 10 feet long. They're a type of monitor lizard, which can also include crocodile monitors, which we also have at the zoo. And we also have another Komodo dragon named Boga that you can see by the bears exhibit. So Phoenix is visible here in the reptile house. You guys can stop by and say hi to him on your next visit to the zoo. Phoenix has a mouth filled with a lot of really sharp curved teeth that they use to grip onto their prey and tear off chunks. In the wild, they're going to be eating really anything that they can overpower. This can be goats, pigs, deer, and for the longest time, people had this misconception that Komodo dragons would bite an animal and then sort of let it die from infection. However, we now know that for the most part, Komodo dragons will bite and just try to overpower the animal as quickly as they can. If an animal does get away, the Komodo dragon will track it, but the animal dies of blood loss. They don't have bacteria in their mouth that's any worse than other reptiles. Komodo dragons, as you can see now with his backside, he has a very strong, powerful tail. They will use that for defense. They can tail whip, and it's extremely powerful. An adult Komodo dragon tail whip would probably be able to break a leg or any other bone of a human's body. Come here, buddy. Phoenix. Yes, we can get a little bit closer. And now we're going to be giving Phoenix a few treats. Here at the zoo, we feed our Komodo dragons a variety of food items. It can be rats, small rabbits, eggs. And today we're going to be feeding him a couple of small rats. So as you can see, they swallow their food whole, at least whenever it's small enough. So he's pretty food motivated, but as you saw when we walked in here, he does get pretty used to people. We work with our Komodo dragons here. It's purely for safety reasons, so that the keepers can work with the dragons in the safest manner possible, which also ends up being safer for the dragon as well. So we got a question asking how often do the Komodo dragons eat? So we feed ours once or twice a week. Reptiles are not like mammals. They don't need to eat every single day. They have much slower metabolisms than ours, and a lot of Komodo dragons in captivity actually end up being overweight. They're very prone to being overweight because they don't get the exercise that they need, and they get overfed. So we take care to not overfeed ours, and we also give them the really functional exhibits that help them to keep up with their exercise, help keep their joints and their muscles defined and healthy. So Phoenix likes to climb here on his rocks a lot. Boga's exhibit over by bears is very well designed for him to be able to climb up and down, and this helps our dragons stay as healthy as possible. Phoenix is about, I want to say, 7 years old.
How old is Boga?
Boga's, I think, like 16 or something like that. So I was actually a volunteer here 10 years ago, and Boga then was about the size that Phoenix is now.
Is Boga related to Phoenix?
So we got a question if Boga is related to Phoenix. I don't believe so. So we got a question if this is our only Komodo dragon. No, we do have another Komodo dragon on exhibit. His name is Boga. He's a full-grown adult male, and you can see him in the bear section next to the black bear habitats. So Komodo dragons have a large forked tongue that you can see him licking his lips with. They will also use that to smell the surroundings, kind of like a snake. They have an organ in the roof of their mouth that they will use to essentially translate chemical signals in the air into information in the brain. So he knows that we're here. He can smell that there's no more food for him, which is why he's sort of calmed down. And he's also starting to digest that food. So we've got a great question. Are they venomous? So this is still somewhat debated among scientists. So several years ago, there was a study published that showed that Komodo dragons did actually have some sort of venom gland and venom that could account for the way that they would sometimes bite animals and then follow them until they died, much in the way that a rattlesnake sometimes hunts. However, other people still contest that even though they do have a primitive venom gland of sorts in their lower jaw, that they don't have the venom delivery system that would technically classify them as venomous. So are they venomous? We are not 100% sure. I think it matters a lot based on what your definition of venomous is and how useful it is to their hunting strategy. For the most part, we see that they don't rely too much on it. So the jury is still out on that one. And that's something that's also been questioned in other monitor lizards as well. There have been some monitor lizards that also have shown some sort of venom-producing organ, but we just don't understand yet how developed it is and how useful it is to them. So a lot of times what they'll do is they will actually scratch their faces along the rocks to sort of get debris off, especially when they eat. They're pretty messy eaters, so they'll often get like, saliva and blood and stuff like that, other fluids around their mouth that he needs to sort of scratch off. So we got a question, what's Phoenix's personality? So you're getting a pretty good look at it right now. He was worked with by keepers since he was a little baby, so he's gotten pretty used to people. I still wouldn't go up and, just start petting his neck yet. But Komodo dragons can get to that point. They're never trustworthy to the sense that, you can just go up to them and not treat them as a wild animal. They are still wild animals. They do still pose a potential danger to humans, including us keepers, but we do our best to make sure that everyone is being handled safely. We have tools like this Y-pole that we use to put distance between us and the dragon. And eventually the dragon also learns that the Y-pole does not necessarily mean feeding. It can just mean working with him, and that it is a means to sort of keep him at bay. But for the most part, he's pretty relaxed. He's extremely active. If you come to the reptile house and take a look at him, he will be often climbing up and down the rocks. He'll try to do these little somersaults just from falling from the rocks to the ground. They're very durable. So we got a question, how much does he eat per day? So he actually does not eat every day. Komodo dragons are typically only fed once or twice a week. They have a much slower metabolism than us humans, and in captivity they're very prone to being overweight from being overfed and not getting enough exercise. So we make sure to avoid that as much as possible by giving them functional exhibits that they can use to keep their joints and their muscles healthy, and we make sure not to overfeed them. We got a question asking how fast they can run. So I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but Komodo dragons are capable of bursts of speed for short distances. They're not going to be marathon runners. They're not going to be running a mile in under 5 minutes or anything like that. But if you do get too close to one and too inside their comfort zone, they are capable of very impressive short bursts of speed. So we got a question asking what they eat in the wild. So for the most part, they will eat just anything that they can overpower. This can include goats, pigs, deer for the most part. Those are going to be the main prey animals that are found on the Komodo Islands where they live. As babies, they will eat smaller stuff, small rodents, other lizards, large insects as well, until they're big enough to take on larger prey. So you can see by above him, the lights here, these are heat lamps for him. Reptiles are cold-blooded, so they can't regulate their own body temperature the way that humans can. So in order to warm up and cool down, he relies on his environment. So in order for him to digest his food, we provide him with heat lamps that allow him a nice basking spot. It allows his organs and all body systems to function normally. And he has choice to either be under the basking lamp or go to a cooler part of the enclosure. So we got a question asking, what is a Komodo dragon's lifespan? So we're not entirely sure exactly like what the max lifespan is. In captivity, they can, make it 20 to 30 years or so. There's a potential that they could live older. We're not entirely sure how old they might live in the wild. Typically, captive animals can live longer than wild animals just because they don't have a lot of the hardships that wild animals face. But if a Komodo dragon is kept healthy and strong, he will live quite a while. So we got a question asking what are some of the special treats or enrichments he gets. So we try to vary his diet as much as possible. We'll give him a variety of rodents. We'll give him different sizes as well. We'll give them some quail as well. Every once in a while, a small rabbit. Something that he likes to do is actually hunt for his food. So what we'll do is I'll kind of hide it around the exhibit, and that gives him the ability to sort of exercise that natural behavior of actually foraging for food. We have also in the past put food items like on I would say like a pole or stick that is kind of hanging on a rope, and that allows them to, again, actively hunt for something that's actually moving around and is more difficult to catch than just a rat being fed into his mouth. So I got a question asking what my favorite part about working with them is. Komodo dragons are extremely intelligent, and if you guys have been watching this Facebook Live, you can see he's definitely been figuring things out. He knows who we are. He knows that we're not here to hurt him. Whenever I look into their eyes, it just looks like they're thinking. They have some incredible eyes, and I've just been able to see such a variety of behaviors from them. They all have individual personalities. They're really amazing animals, and definitely not just a simple animal or lizard or snake or whatever people sometimes think reptiles are. They're definitely evidence that reptiles are a lot smarter and a lot more cognitive than we often give them credit for. So we got a question asking if he gets whole carcass rabbits. Yeah, we do give him full rabbits. Oh no. So he's just getting his tail situated. Occasionally they will use their tails as defensive weapons. Typically doesn't do it with us keepers in the wild or from a full-grown adult Komodo dragon. That tail can be a dangerous weapon. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us this morning at the Houston Zoo with Phoenix, our Komodo dragon. We want to wish everyone a happy Lunar New Year, and please stop by the reptile house so you can see Phoenix firsthand, and you can take a look at our other amazing reptiles.